Hey, good afternoon, everyone.
Hello. Well, Jacob, talk about what it means to be a professional baseball player and actually get to play a game tomorrow night. What is your feelings heading into the 2021 season as a new young player to pro baseball?
Yeah, I think like the three guys before me, everybody here is just so excited. Excited to be a Dayton Dragon, excited to play professional baseball, to be under the lights again. Just all the feelings that come with playing baseball. You know, we've been playing this game, or I've been playing this game since I was 7 years old. And every time you step onto the baseball field, it's just another chance to go out and play the game that we love. We have a great group of guys here, and I'm super excited it's going to be a long season, but I'm super excited that I get to do it with these guys.
Well, the obvious question about the military, then let's talk about that. How much does that helped you with your game or had an effect on your game and that sort of thing? It's certainly, I know there's another guy on the roster with experience like that, but it does seem unique. And do the two play well with each other?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, baseball is and probably always will be one of the hardest mental games just because of the amount of failure that you see on a day-to-day basis, especially as a position player and as a hitter. So, you know, some of the things that I've learned and that West Point has taught me, the military has taught me, is just how to be resilient. I think, you know, over the course of 120 games, like we were just talking about, a long season, you're going to have to be resilient as a hitter. You're going to face those ups and downs. You're going to go through those lows where there's stretches of, you know, not getting hits, and that's a part of baseball. It's a part of life. But you know, as baseball players, we're trying to just be as consistent as possible, coming in here every day, sticking to our routine. And, you know, I could touch on that as well. Routine in the military, you know, every single day you wake up and it's very structured, especially at West Point. It's wake up at this time, you know, on to the next thing, next. It's all kind of lined up for you. Similar to how it is here, especially now with the new COVID protocols that we have. So for me, it hasn't been too much of an adjustment. Some of the rules that have been in place, but you know, I can't harp on it enough, just how excited I am to be starting my first professional season.
Jacob, your decision to delay your active duty and decide to do baseball now and give that a shot, what went into your decision on that? And then what do you have to fulfill with the Army at some point?
Yeah. So for me, I mean, the decision was pretty easy. If I was given a contract by a professional team, I was going to go and play baseball. My goal is to, just like all the guys that are here, my goal is to try and play professional baseball for as long as I can. So whenever I am done playing, whether that's on my own terms or through the terms of a professional baseball organization, I still have a 5-year commitment. And I'll quickly touch on kind of what the new policy is for me. So it used to be that I would have had to serve 2 years in service before being able to play professional baseball. After that 2 years was up, I would have had to defer my commitment from the military. And then I would have been able to sign a professional contract, move into the reserves. So I would have moved from active duty to the reserves, and I would have been able to play. Obviously, taking 2 years off of baseball would be extremely difficult to be able to try and come back and, you know, compete against the great talent that we see here. So when President Trump passed the policy in 2019 allowing service academy athletes to go and play professionally if they were given a contract, that just opened the door and made my decision so much easier to be able to sign and to be able to just come and play immediately after graduation.
So how was the emotional roller coaster just being in college, knowing you have the talent? Tom told us about the accolades, you had that, but you ended up going undrafted because they cut the MLB draft down by 35 rounds. Just what was that process like for you?
Yeah, it was definitely difficult. I had high expectations going into my senior year. I didn't really know where I was going to land in the draft if it was 40 rounds. But, as a person, just with a lot of drive, I did have high expectations of being able to get drafted and to be able to say that I was drafted. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. And it was a little bit of an emotional roller coaster. Kind of the story there. I had a lot of teams talking to me leading up to the draft. And the draft got pushed, I think, from the end of May to the middle of June. My graduation was June 13th. The draft was the Thursday, Friday, right before my graduation. There was a dead period, and then Sunday teams were allowed to start calling free agents. And so when I didn't have my name called, Thursday, Friday, a little bit disappointed on Saturday during my graduation. I drove home 13 hours from New York and West Point to my home in Indianapolis. Got home at 7 a.m. and then at 9 a.m. the free agency started where teams were able to call and start trying to sign guys. So when I got home at 7 a.m., I took about a 2-hour nap. 9 a.m., I had the Cincinnati Reds calling. I had the Chicago Cubs calling, Detroit Tigers. And I like to tell people it's not a horrible way to wake up when you got professional baseball teams, ringing your phone at 9 a.m. in the morning. So yeah, it was an emotional roller coaster, especially those 4 days where I was graduating from, the United States Military Academy, and then 24 hours later signing a professional baseball contract.
Were the Reds simply the best offer, or were there other reasons you chose the Reds?
So CJ Gilman, our hitting coordinator, he was at Air Force, and he was a big reason why I decided to sign with the Reds. And just the philosophy that the Reds have in general, I think that it really fits my style of play. The way he pitched it to me was do damage or take the walk. If you looked at my senior year stats at all, I had 69 walks my senior year, at an on-base percentage of like 540. And so, when I heard do damage or take the walk, I was like, that is a system that I fit into extremely well. And, being able to have the option, getting drafted, you don't really get to pick your team. Now I was kind of like on this market where I got to choose what team I wanted to be a part of and what system I thought that I would be able to thrive in. And so when I heard all these teams pitch kind of their philosophies to me on hitting, and I heard that one, I was like, that just fits me perfectly. And I think that I'll be able to thrive under this organization and through this system.
So were you a Reds fan growing up, or did emotion have anything to play with? I mean, where you grew up, you could have been that, or the Cubs, or the Tigers, crying out loud. Those are your three little teams pretty close to you.
I grew up a Chicago Cubs fan. So when my parents knew that I was a Chicago Cubs fan, I was cheering for the Cubs in the 2016 World Series. And so, when I was trying to make my decision, I tried to be as impartial as possible. Choosing the decision that would fit me the best, and my growth through the organization the best, not just, Chicago Cubs are my favorite team. I want to be a Cub. So that me being a Cubs fan played nothing into the decision.
When you graduated, how much time did you have to sign with the club before your military assignment was going to come up?
So I would have started, it's called Bullock, so Basic Officer Leadership Course. I would have started that at the beginning of July. So I signed my contract, or I was offered a contract by the Reds June, I forget what day, June 14th, whatever that Sunday was. And so I had approximately 2 weeks to try and get everything figured out and settled before I was able to go play.
Okay.
When you went to sleep for that 2-hour nap, I guess that's the best thing to call it. Were you you pretty sure that you were still going to take this route that was going to be offered to you?
Yeah. Just because of the number of teams that had reached out to me leading up to the draft, they all kind of commented to me that no matter what happens, we still have interest in you, and we like have plans to sign you as a free agent following the draft. And a lot of teams carried through on that promise.
You know, when you reverse it, when you kind of look back 4 years prior, though, when you go to a service academy, isn't it almost in your mind you're closing the door on this happening? Did you look at it that way? Did it have to come that way? And then what were the emotions, and when did you see that door opening?
Yeah, that's a great question. So another kind of wild story is just that when I was getting recruited to go to West Point, I had no idea what West Point was. I didn't know that it was a service academy. So when the coach called me for the first time after a showcase when I was a junior in high school, I kind of looked at my parents and I was like, the coach from West Point just called me. And, I had to Google what West Point even was. And that's not an uncommon thing from some West Pointers, especially the athletes. A lot of them don't know necessarily what it means to go to West Point and go to serve. But I did not take that commitment or that decision lightly, right? So I found out what West Point was, and I did my research. I knew now, or looking back then, I saw the opportunity that was presented in front of me and just what it meant to go to a place like the United States Military Academy, knowing that I have 5 years of service to serve, our great country. And that was the decision that I didn't take lightly. Another thing, kind of to answer your question, coming out of high school, I was 150 pounds. I thought there was no shot that I would ever be able to play professional baseball. The only thing that I had going for me was that I was fast. And that's the biggest draw that West Point took to me. And they wanted to try and develop a player around that speed. And I was lucky enough to be able to start my freshman year in center field. I can't thank enough the coaching staffs there that I played under, just the development and the time that they put into me as a player. And also just as a person. It made for a great 4 years, a very challenging 4 years, but I wouldn't trade it for the world.
You were named the fastest person in the Reds organization. Has anybody challenged you to a race yet? One of the first things that I did when I signed with the Reds was I looked at some of the stolen base leaders. We just talked with Michael Ciani. Michael Ciani's got some wheels. There are a couple guys out there that do have some speed. I don't know. Nobody's come up to me yet and tried to challenge me. So I guess we can keep it that I'm the fastest for now. And how much pride do you take in that speed?
Yeah, speed is my whole game. 0 home runs in college, 0 home runs in high school. I've never hit a home run over the fence. So being able to say that I made it to where I'm at right now, almost purely on my speed, I think shows just how much pride that I have in the game that I do play, and trying to make the game exciting for fans. And that's one thing for me is when I'm watching a baseball game, I think the guys that have the speed are the most exciting. Those are the guys that I get on the edge of my seat to try and watch, just because of how much fun it looks like they're having the game. So I'm excited to bring that element to the Dayton Dragons and see what we can do with that.
Jacob, starting off in high A, your first season, are you surprised by that? Did you expect to be here or somewhere else? What have they told you? And in addition to that, what have they told you about where you're going to play in the outfield starting out?
Yeah, I mean, being in high A is an honor and something that, I'd never want to take for granted. I personally thought that I was going to start in low A. Those were my goals. My expectations going into camp were that I would start at that lowest level and, have to work my way up. And I thank the coaches for just the support and the pride that they have in me, being able to put me in this position in high A, and for having the faith and believing that I might be able to handle this. What was the second part of your question again? Sorry.
As far as where you're going to play in the outfield starting out, because he's here in center fielder.
Cheo, Coach Moreno has told me that either left field or center field, that's where he's going to try and stick me. And obviously we have other great outfielders. Siani, you guys talked about him making one of the greatest catches here. I've yet to see it, but I got to go and Google that right now.
Over the last year or two, it seems like a conversation has sparked about baseball's unwritten rules and, bat flips and showing emotion. Where do you stand on that debate, if you want to call it a debate? And just when it comes to, I know you said you haven't hit a home run yet, but if you hit one, are you flipping that bat? Are you just placing it down?
I'm probably going to be rounding second by the time it goes over the fence. I'm going to have no idea that I just hit my first home run. In terms of the question, I think people have, it's a very opinionated subject. My personal belief is, the guy made a great hit, great pitch. I think you're allowed to show that emotion. Do I think you should do it respectfully? Yes. And that's where I think the line differs between people, is what is respectful and what's not. I'm all for showing emotion. I think the game was meant to be played with emotion and passion. So, maybe if after my first one and I know I hit my second one, maybe I'll do a bat flip.
Okay.